Thanksgiving's over, I'm going to be doing some things with our Thanksgiving leftovers. And to start, I just wanted a really simple, easy, fast dinner, which is going to be a leftover Thanksgiving turkey pesto panini. I've got a fresh French bread. To get this started, I'm going to use some store-bought pesto that I'm going to put on each slice. And you can do homemade pesto. It really doesn't matter how you do it. I'm using store-bought because it's the day after Thanksgiving and after cooking all day yesterday, who wants to make more food or more mess? I'm going to start with a bit of turkey and I'm going to just cut it in any areas that I want it kind of thin. I'm going to be using mozzarella. I'm just going to add a thinly sliced Roma tomato. And I'm going to add an avocado. All right, so I've got some olive oil that I'm going to heat up. So what I have done here is created a second pan that I'm going to set right on top and then push down as a makeshift panini press. That way I don't actually have to have a fancy panini press to make these paninis. Genius! Some of my cheese did not melt all the way, so I just grabbed a pan cover and covered it up to let it kind of steam down. We are making a healthy leftover turkey wild rice soup. I'm going to start with getting my vegetables ready for that soup. So I'm gonna take a half of an onion and get that chopped up. Now one trick so you cry less with your onions is to actually stick it in the freezer for about 10 minutes before you go to cut it. And the frozen onion is less likely to make you cry. To that onion, I'm going to add 2 large cloves of garlic. If I was using some smaller ones, I would use 3. I'm going to get about 4 ounces of mushrooms, and I'm using white mushrooms for this. So about half this container. To clean your mushrooms, all you actually have to do is take just a damp paper towel, wipe off any of the dirt that you see on them. I'm gonna use a little mushroom slicer for this job. This just adds a ton of speed, especially if you are a novice like me with the knife skills. Just like that, you've got a perfect little slice of all of those mushrooms. So now I'm just gonna get my carrots peeled. This calls for 3 large carrots. I'm using 2 large carrots. I'm using 3 smaller carrots. And of course, this is also reusing, or not reusing, but utilizing some of the extras of items. So I had onions, carrots, and celery in my turkey when I cooked it for that extra aromatic. These are left over, so I didn't even have to buy extra ingredients for this wild rice soup aside from the mushrooms. So it's a pretty great leftover dish because you probably will have a lot of the items you need for it on hand. And this recipe also calls for some Greek yogurt as an optional. You can obviously use cream, but this is just a healthier version. So I am using a Greek non-fat yogurt. I have 3, again it called for 2, but I have pretty small celery, so I'm just gonna slice up. I have my sliced mushrooms, diced carrots and celery, half of an onion, and I have 2 large cloves of garlic that I'm going to mince right into the pan. I'm gonna go and add some oil to my pan that I have heating up. That's nice and hot. I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm gonna add in, again, I've got my carrots, my onion, my celery, and my mushrooms. I'm gonna add those all in. Give that a quick stir to break up the mushroom slices. And I'm going to add my 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna let these sweat down for about 5 minutes, giving them a stir occasionally. I need 2 cups of my turkey picked. Mainly do turkey breast for this one. So I've got some of my turkey ready. I've got my 2 cups of turkey ready to go in. Oh, this smells so good. I'm going to add in my 2 cups of shredded leftover turkey, 6 cups of chicken broth, and I'm using a low sodium chicken broth, 2/3 cup of wild rice, 2 teaspoons of dried thyme, a teaspoon of black pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Get everything stirred up. Cover this up and let it simmer for 45 minutes. All right, so we're gonna check our soup.
I'm taking 1/3 cup of the broth and I'm going to be mixing it with my Greek yogurt. And by doing that, it's going to help prevent the Greek yogurt from curdling once by just throwing it right into the pot.
For the turkey Florentine lasagna rolls, I have about 3 cups of chicken. So I'm going to be just adding a little extra to my recipe to get a few extra. I should be actually get 3 additional rolls based on this recipe. 2 cups of spinach. I'm going to just eyeball this. It says to use frozen spinach, but I actually way prefer using fresh. So I'm gonna eyeball, and I don't think you can go wrong with adding a little extra spinach. So I've got 2 cups of spinach chopped up.
To all of this, I'm going to add 3/4 cup milk,
3/4 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt, 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, not black salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 3/4 teaspoon of dried basil. My water is getting to a boil, so I'm going to salt it, and I'm going to add 9 lasagna noodles.
Here I am grating up some Pecorino Romano cheese using a small hand grater.
And then I'm going to mix this all up as our filling for our Florentine lasagna. So I'm just going to straighten these out and then add my mix and roll them up and add them to my baking pan.
final bit of this recipe is to take 6 tablespoons of pesto and 6 tablespoons of milk.
These are gonna bake for about 20 minutes, and then I will be adding a pesto and milk mixture to the top, as well as some additional cheese. All right, while my lasagna is going, I'm just going to get some cheese that I'm going to use to top it, because what goes better with any kind of lasagna than some cheese? So I am grating up some leftover Monterey Jack cheese, which we used in a homemade mac and cheese earlier this week. So we have our lasagna rolls fresh from the oven. They baked for about 20 minutes just to cook them through. And now I'm going to just be adding my pesto and milk mixture to the top. We are going to add a bit more cheese to each one. This is the Romano. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of Monterey Jack too, because I just don't think you can ever go wrong with some extra cheese.